We've all heard various sayings that decry revenge as being a worthless act that's beneath any civilized human being. An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, said Gandhi. Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves, said Confucius. 2 wrongs can't make a right, said your parents at some point during your childhood, for sure. But whilst we can see their point with regards to overt acts of revenge, there's something to be said for the healing power of passive-aggressive revenge. If you're looking for ideas, well, look no further. Number 10. British Royal Band uses Star Wars to insult the Saudi monarch. In 2007, King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia was due to visit the UK for a royal engagement with Queen Elizabeth II. However, as the leader of a country where torture is rife, human rights are routinely ignored, and governmental corruption is endemic, it's fair to say that this was a controversial outing. On arriving to meet the Queen, it's a long-established tradition that every monarch is greeted with a performance by the British Welsh Guards. However, despite not wanting to perform for such a character, they didn't want to break years of protocol. So instead, when the king arrived, they greeted him with the most apropos song they could think of, the Imperial March, i.e. that song from Star Wars that was commonly used to herald the arrival of the supremely evil tyrant known as Darth Vader. It's not known whether the king knew what was going on, but in the video of this, there are people clearly who are trying to keep a straight face whilst royal protocol trashes the guy's reputation in the eyes of the entire world. Number 9. Arnold Schwarzenegger makes a Sweary poem. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a man of many talents, bodybuilder, actor, politician, and more recently, a poet. In a 2010 letter vetoing a bill authored by Democratic Assemblyman Tom Ammiano, readers noticed a hidden message from Schwarzenegger in the left-hand margin. The words, "fuck you." Coincidentally, several weeks beforehand, Ammiano had heckled the governator, openly accusing him of lying about his policies during his time in office, all whilst the latter was giving a speech at a Democratic Party fundraiser. When it was revealed, Arnold suggested that the whole thing was a coincidence, and that when you do so many vetoes, something like this is bound to happen. And we're just going to assume that when he said that, he did so with a massive wink. Number 8. Ronald Emmerich hits back at Ebert and Siskel. Movie director Robert Emmerich was really suffering at the hands of the critics. Well, 2 critics in particular, Gene Siskel and Robert Ebert. They hadn't been very kind in their reviews of Universal Soldier, Stargate, and Independence Day, so Emmerich decided to give them a part in his next movie, Godzilla. Casting 2 actors who bear a remarkable similarity to the pair, he created the characters of Mayor Ebert, an argumentative, meddling buffoon, and Gene, the mayor's sycophantic lackey. However, despite Emmerich's blind hatred of the pair, they made it out of the movie alive, leaving Ebert openly puzzled about why they hadn't been eaten or squashed underfoot. Number 7. Lord Byron buys a bear. In 1805, Lord Byron was starting his first year at the prestigious Cambridge Trinity College and requested to the administration that he be able to bring his dog to live with him. On receiving the request, the college flat out denied it, citing a rule which prohibited dogs on campus. As a result, Byron then went out and did what many of us would do when faced with such a petty, obstructive rule. He bought a freaking bear. On returning to the college, he was asked to kindly get the animal off the premises. Byron agreed to do so as soon as the college showed him the rule which prohibited bears from living on campus. As they couldn't, the bear stayed with Byron throughout his studies. Number 6. George Lucas sells his land to charity. George Lucas is one of those people who need no introduction. After all, he's responsible for a couple of famous films, some of which you might even have heard of, like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, or E.T. For 25 years, Lucas had been attempting to build a special effects workshop on his property in Marin County, California, which would revitalize the area and create hundreds of high-paying jobs. But he was thwarted by his rich neighbors at every turn, all out of fear that such a development would bring ruinous traffic to the area and cause so much light pollution that their dark, starry nights would be destroyed. That's an actual quote, by the way. So, in 2012, Lucas dropped those plans and said that it sold the land to the Marin Community Foundation, all so they could finally build some much-needed low-income housing. Predictably, Lucas's neighbors went crazy over that decision, but there was nothing they could do to stop it. Number 5. Michael Crichton gets personal. In 2004, author Michael Crichton published State of Fear, a science fiction work about global warming and environmental terrorism. However, whilst it proved to be a bestseller amongst the general public, it was heavily criticized by the scientific community for distorting the evidence for global warming. One such critic was Michael Crowley, who in an analysis of Crichton's work accused Crichton of being a negative influence on the discussion of global warming and contributing to an increasingly hostile attitude towards scientists who supported the idea. Crichton wasn't entirely happy with this critique and made his displeasure quite obvious in his next work. This next work was Next, and in several chapters it features a character called Mick Crowley who is on trial for successfully raping a 2-year-old child despite having a woefully small penis. I would also like to point out here that we really are not making this up. You can go read the book if you want to. Number 4. House gets a colourful paint job. The Westboro Baptist Church has rightfully earned the reputation of being a horrible organization populated by horrible people. The church is vehemently homophobic, being responsible for the sadly famous God Hates Fag signs, which are proudly displayed by the group at the funerals of military personnel, as well as gay people and just about anybody else who isn't like them. In 2013, however, the group must have received quite a shock when they turned up for their weekly gay-bashing rituals, only to find the house across the street had been repainted into the colors of the LGBT flag. This was the work of one Aaron Jackson. Whilst looking on Google Earth in March, he spotted the property for sale and decided to spend $83,000 establishing a headquarters for his anti-bullying organization in possibly the world's most ironic location. That might sound like a lot of money for some passive-aggressive payback, but since trolling bigots in a manner they can do absolutely nothing about is priceless, we're going to say that it's money amazingly well spent. Number 3. Bank of America gets legally foreclosed. In 2011, Bank of America delivered a foreclosure notice on a family's home for the heinous crime of defaulting on their mortgage. Only one problem here: the family in question owns the house outright as they'd bought it in cash. They didn't even have a mortgage, let alone a mortgage with Bank of America. The matter was later taken to court and ended with the family winning their case and Bank of America being ordered to pay them $2,534 restitution for their legal fees. Of course, BOA refused to pay the money because it was founded by Satan. So the family got creative. After consulting with their lawyers, the family appeared at the bank one day and, armed with a removal truck and a couple of sheriff's deputies, foreclosed on it. As in, they were legally allowed to strip the bank bare, including all of the money in the teller's drawers. The bank manager was suddenly able to pay the family after all, presenting them with a check an hour later. Number 2. South Korea blasts K-pop at the North. It's fair to say that the relationship between North Korea and South Korea is somewhat fragile. Over the years, they've engaged in numerous gun battles and psychological campaigns, despite being separated by one of the most heavily armed borders in the world. In 2010, however, the situation was direr than ever. In March of that year, the North Koreans sank a Navy ship that belonged to the South. This was soon followed by an artillery attack on an island well within South Korea's territory. You can imagine that the South launched a blistering counterattack. And they did. In June, they set up their own FM radio station, through which they blasted the North Koreans with the sickly sweet sounds of Korean pop music, also referred to as K-pop. Predictably, the North didn't appreciate this lesson in musical history and threatened all-out war unless the transmissions were turned off. We like to think that the South's response to this was to just turn the dials all the way up to 11 and rock North Korea's face so hard that they completely forgot to follow through on their threat of war. Number 1. Gustav Klimt bears some painted flesh. Gustav Klimt is the master painter responsible for renowned works such as The Kiss and Adele Bloch-Bauer 1. He specialized in drawings of the female form, aka mass nudity. So it's strange that after being commissioned by the University of Vienna to paint human representations of philosophy, jurisprudence, and medicine, each design was refused on the grounds that it was pornographic. I mean, we have to ask the question, did the school really not know what they were getting into? Unwilling to appeal to the conservative masses any longer, he painted Nuda Veritas in response, which depicts a young, naked woman holding a mirror to the face of the viewer. Also above this figure is a quote by Friedrich Schiller stating, "If you cannot please everyone with your deeds and your art, please only a few. To please many is bad." So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below and do not forget to subscribe. Brand new videos just like this every day of the week. And as always, thank you for watching.